Welcome to the YouTube channel The Right Place, where creativity, upcycling, and a touch of magic come together. In today's video, we're exploring 30-plus dry branch fairy garden hacks that will transform simple twigs into breathtaking, magical creations for your backyard. From tiny fairy doors to glowing lanterns, these ideas are not only enchanting, but also eco-friendly and budget-friendly. If you love DIY projects that spark imagination, you're in the right place. Don't forget to subscribe, hit the bell icon, and join our community of dreamers who believe in turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. One, enchanted fairy arches from dry branches. Transform ordinary dry branches into whimsical fairy arches that instantly add charm to your garden pathways. By bending and tying branches together, you create natural gateways that feel straight out of a fantasy story. Add fairy lights, miniature vines, or colorful beads for a touch of sparkle. These arches invite both imagination and serenity into your backyard, turning it into a magical hideaway where creativity thrives among nature's gifts. 2. Miniature fairy furniture with twigs. Dry branches are perfect for building miniature fairy furniture like chairs, tables, and benches. Their natural curves and textures make them ideal for crafting rustic, storybook-like pieces that blend seamlessly with your fairy garden. With just a glue gun, twine, and a little patience, you can design adorable seating for your fairies. These tiny creations are not only magical, but also sustainable, proving that nature's leftovers can be transformed into works of art. Three, branch-crafted fairy doors. A fairy garden isn't complete without whimsical doors that open to magical worlds. Use dry branches to craft rustic doors for tree bases, garden walls, or potted plants. Each door can be decorated with moss, pebbles, or tiny beads to give it personality. These handcrafted fairy doors spark imagination, especially for children, who will love to dream about tiny fairies stepping through them into secret magical realms right in your backyard. 4. Twiggy fairy bridges. Create charming fairy bridges by assembling small dry twigs into simple structures that span garden paths, miniature ponds, or mossy patches. These bridges symbolize passage into magical spaces, inviting curiosity and exploration. Adding natural rope or bark can enhance the rustic design. With a bit of creativity, these bridges transform into storybook elements that make your fairy garden feel alive with mystery, adventure, and an irresistible sense of wonder. Five, sparkling fairy branch lanterns. Turn dry branches into delicate lantern holders that light up your backyard at night. By intertwining twigs around glass jars or solar lights, you create rustic lantern frames with a fairy tale glow. When illuminated, these lanterns cast magical shadows across your garden, creating a dreamy atmosphere. Not only do they repurpose natural materials, but they also set the mood for enchanting evenings, making your fairy garden a perfect retreat after sunset. 6. Dry branch fairy swings. Imagine fairies gently swinging under the stars. Bring that vision to life with a dry branch fairy swing. Use a sturdy twig as the base, add a small piece of bark or wood as the seat, and tie it up with natural twine. Place it near fairy houses or tiny figurines for added charm. This simple addition creates movement and joy in your fairy garden, making it feel more interactive and alive. 7. Rustic fairy fences. Using dry branches, you can craft miniature fences that define spaces within your fairy garden. These fences not only give structure, but also enhance the storybook feel of the setting. By trimming and arranging twigs in neat rows, secured with glue or wire, you'll create quaint barriers that look straight from a magical village. Whether bordering a fairy path or encircling a tiny cottage, rustic fences add authentic detail to your magical backyard. 8. Magical fairy treehouses. Turn old branches into miniature treehouses that serve as homes for your garden fairies. With careful stacking and gluing, twigs become tiny platforms, walls, and ladders perched on small trees or stumps. Decorate them with moss, pebbles, and shells to give them a whimsical character. These treehouses not only delight the imagination but also become focal points in your fairy garden, drawing attention and sparking curiosity about who might live inside. 9. Fairy branch tunnels. Build miniature tunnels from twisted branches to create mysterious passageways in your fairy garden. These tunnels guide visitors' eyes along garden paths, offering both intrigue and magic. By weaving twigs into arched shapes, you can form natural, rustic tunnels perfect for creeping plants or fairy figurines. Add soft moss or flowers around them for a lush finish. These tunnels create depth, storytelling, and a sense of adventure in your backyard paradise. 10. Fairy garden gazebos from sticks. Craft a delicate gazebo using dry branches as the framework. Arrange twigs into a circular or hexagonal structure, tying them together with twine or glue. Cover the top with moss or tiny artificial flowers for a whimsical roof. Place this gazebo as a centerpiece in your fairy garden where fairies might gather. It's a magical upcycling hack that brings elegance and fantasy to your backyard while staying eco-friendly and budget-conscious. 11. Branchy fairy pergolas. Create mini pergolas using straight dry branches as posts and thinner twigs as crossbeams. These charming structures can be placed over fairy benches or pathways, giving the illusion of shaded resting spots for tiny garden guests. Adding climbing plants or artificial vines makes them look alive with greenery. A twig pergola not only adds height and structure to your fairy garden, but also builds a magical sense of intimacy and coziness. 12. Fairy rope ladders with twigs. Craft tiny ladders by tying short, dry twigs together with natural twine. These ladders can lean against fairy treehouses, bridges, or cottages, making the miniature world feel more interactive. The rustic look of rough twigs adds authenticity to your fairy village. Children and guests will marvel at these detailed touches, sparking imaginative stories of fairies climbing up to their homes under the moonlight. Simple, inexpensive, yet incredibly enchanting. 13. Fairy mailboxes from branches. Design whimsical fairy mailboxes by shaping small twigs into upright posts and attaching tiny bark or wood boxes. Place them near fairy doors or homes to suggest that magical letters and scrolls are being delivered. These tiny details create storytelling opportunities and make your fairy garden feel alive with unseen activity. A sprinkle of glitter or paint can add extra magic, making it a focal point for children's imaginative play. 14. Fairy branch pathways. Line your garden with twig-based pathways that guide the eye through your miniature world. Simply slice branches into thin discs or cut them into even sections to serve as stepping stones. Arrange them in winding lines to lead toward fairy homes or benches. These natural paths not only look magical, but also provide texture and structure, helping transform your backyard into a cohesive, story-filled fairyland crafted from upcycled nature. 15. Fairy garden branch tents. Build tiny teepee-style tents using long, Slender twigs lean together in a cone shape. Cover them with moss, leaves, or fabric scraps for added charm. These tents look like fairy camping spots hidden among your plants. They're playful, rustic, and add character to your fairy landscape. Kids especially love these mini tents, imagining the fairies gathering inside for stories or rest. A wonderful hack for adding depth and creativity. 16. Magical fairy signposts. Create tiny signposts from twigs to direct imaginary visitors toward Fairy Hollow, Pixie Path, or Enchanted Bridge. Use small flat pieces of bark or painted pebbles for the signs attached to twig posts. These signposts are adorable accents that add storytelling elements and guide viewers' eyes through the garden. Simple yet effective, they're a great upcycled project to turn otherwise overlooked twigs into conversation-starting fairy decorations for your backyard. 17. Fairy garden twig shelters. Dry branches make perfect bases for rustic shelters where fairies can rest. Arrange them into lean-to structures against rocks or logs, adding moss and leaves for roofing. These shelters give your fairy village a lived-in feeling, as if magical creatures really call your backyard home. Their rough, natural appearance enhances the woodland aesthetic, making your upcycled garden look both intentional and full of wonder without spending a fortune. 18. Dry branch fairy beds. Turn small twigs into fairy-sized bed frames. Lay flat bark or moss on top as bedding, and add a few flower petals as blankets. Place these miniature beds near fairy houses or under twig shelters for an adorable finishing touch. These fairy beds not only showcase creativity, but also demonstrate how nature's simplest materials can be transformed into detailed, upcycled art that makes your fairy garden enchanting and cozy. 19. Fairy light holders with twigs. Combine twigs and string lights to create rustic fairy light holders. Wrap twigs around solar lights or arrange them in small teepee shapes that glow at night. These holders amplify the magic of your backyard once the sun sets, turning it into a whimsical retreat. The gentle sparkle through dry branches creates patterns of light that dance on leaves and stones, immersing your garden in a fairy tale glow. 20. Fairy twig boats. Craft adorable miniature boats from dry branches for small water features in your garden. Use bark as the boat base, twigs as masts, and leaves as sails. Place them in bird baths, ponds, or even decorative bowls. These boats spark whimsical daydreams of fairies sailing under moonlit skies. They're also a fun project for kids and bring movement and playfulness to your fairy landscape, blending imagination with upcycled natural materials. 21. Fairy flower trellises with branches. Design small trellises from dry twigs to support creeping plants or tiny artificial flowers in your fairy garden. These trellises add height and visual interest while symbolizing fairy gardens brimming with life. They're easy to make and versatile, fitting into pots, raised beds, or backyard corners. Over time, as real plants climb them, they'll look even more magical, an eco-friendly, upcycled hack that brings fairy charm and sustainability together beautifully. 22. Twig fairy thrones. Build majestic little thrones for your fairies using thicker branches for legs and thin ones for armrests and backs. Add smooth bark as the seat and decorate with moss or beads for a royal look. Place them in central spots to suggest fairy royalty presides over the magical world you've created. These thrones elevate your garden's storytelling element, blending rustic design with imaginative play, all from simple upcycled twigs. 23. Fairy branch candle holders. Craft rustic holders for LED candles or tea lights by arranging twigs in circular shapes around a safe container. At night, the flickering light makes your fairy garden feel cozy and enchanted. These candle holders blend perfectly with the natural vibe, proving that dry branches can be transformed into elegant, functional decor. Best of all, they're affordable, eco-friendly, and versatile, bringing both light and life to your magical backyard escape. 24. Twig fairy ladders to the sky. Add whimsical vertical details by creating ladders that lean against walls, trees, or fences, as if leading into the sky. Made from dry branches and twine, these ladders spark curiosity. Where are the fairies climbing? They add height and dimension to your garden design. Whether purely decorative or holding climbing plants, these ladders are a charming hack that makes your backyard feel like an enchanted fairyland of dreams. 25. Fairy nest creations. Bundle twigs into small nests, lining them with moss, feathers, or dried flowers. These fairy nests can serve as cozy homes for figurines, eggs, or decorative marbles. Place them in branches, near fairy houses, or even hanging from pergolas. They look natural yet magical, blending rustic simplicity with imagination. This hack reuses dry branches in a unique way, making your fairy garden feel nurturing, alive, and full of wonder. 26. Fairy well with twigs. Build a miniature fairy wishing well using small branches as the frame and stones or bark as the base. Add a tiny bucket on a string for charm. This adorable addition makes your fairy garden interactive and symbolic, inviting wishes and dreams into your backyard. Fairy wells are timeless, and crafting one from upcycled branches ensures your magical space stays eco-friendly while captivating the imagination of everyone who visits. 27. Dry branch fairy shelves. Stack small twigs into tiny shelf-like structures attached to tree trunks or garden walls. Decorate them with miniature pots, flowers, or fairy figurines to create the look of tiny magical displays. These shelves add vertical interest and detail to your garden, encouraging viewers to look closely. By upcycling twigs into fairy shelves, you add both function and charm, turning every corner of your backyard into a storybook scene. 28. Fairy bridges with rope rails. Enhance twig bridges by adding rope or twine rails for safety and style. This small addition gives your bridges more character and realism, as though fairies built them with care. Position them across small decorative streams or mossy ground patches. The mix of natural twigs and rustic rope makes the structures believable while maintaining whimsy. It's an upcycled hack that invites imagination while highlighting eco-conscious creativity. 29. Fairy branch planters. Create rustic planters by bundling dry branches into circular forms and lining them with moss or small containers. Plant miniature succulents, flowers, or herbs inside to make them look like fairy-tended gardens. These planters double as decorations and functional growing spaces, blending gardening with fairy magic. By upcycling branches into planters, you enhance the sustainability of your backyard while keeping the theme playful, creative, and beautifully eco-friendly. 30. twig fairy sculptures. Turn bundles of twigs into abstract sculptures representing fairy art, spirals, stars, or hearts. These twig sculptures serve as focal points in your garden, sparking imagination and curiosity. They also highlight the beauty of simplicity, proving that even discarded branches can become artistic masterpieces. Place them near fairy paths or gazebos for maximum effect. This hack combines creativity with sustainability, turning your backyard into a gallery of magical, upcycled creations. Conclusion: your fairy garden awaits. And there you have it, 30 plus dry branch fairy garden hacks into magical upcycled creations for your backyard. From doors and swings to thrones and glowing lanterns, every idea transforms simple twigs into storybook wonders. The beauty of these projects lies in their eco-friendliness, affordability, and limitless creativity. Thank you for joining us here at the right place. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more magical DIY ideas. Your enchanted backyard adventure starts now.